Hello and welcome today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone, on this bright and sunny day today where we're taping. Mayor Concannon, welcome as always.
Hi, Samantha. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. There was a lot of discussions in last week's city council meeting around a new ordinance around municipal use of city land and some ways that we can look at streamlining some of the permitting processes. And I hope people will continue to participate in that process actively and attend meetings. But I still thought it would be helpful even here to talk a little bit more detail about that and give folks a little bit more context as they're going into all the meetings that have been happening and participating in those.
Yeah, so there's a meeting in about an hour and a half, City
Yeah.
Council Ordinance Committee meeting. I was just working on some notes for that meeting. Um, in a nutshell, when the City of Woburn wants to do a project for our benefit and the benefit of the residents, whether it's a fire station, a police station, a water treatment plant, something like that, uh, we are required by our zoning code to seek a special permit from the city council. So as we have begun the process of building the two fire stations, as you know, the bonding authorization for $30 million was approved. That will allow us to build two new fire stations, one in East Woburn, one in West Woburn. As we began that process with our building committee, which is a committee that we've used in the past on any significant building project, made up of department heads here in the city, representative from the city council, the team that would be involved in the building. We have these public meetings, they're posted, they're open to the public comes and speaks, and then the minutes are posted. When we began that process and began to have these meetings, one of the things we were most mindful of was staying true to the project design and budget. We sought the approval of the city council to spend $30 million on two fire stations. And we spelled out to the city council what those fire stations would look like, what we would need in them, and how much we expect they will cost. So as we began the process, it began exploring ways to be as forceful and predictable as we could be in maintaining that timing, the schedule, the design, and the cost. The idea was brought forward that one way to expedite the process and to keep it on time, keep it on budget, and to avoid any potential surprises or obstacles or delays would be to pursue a municipal use exemption. So as I said, currently here in the city, to do a project like this, we must get a special permit from the city council. Interesting to note, and I don't want to get too down into the weeds and the minutia here, but if people have an interest in this stuff, they might want to check out the Woburn zoning code, specifically section 5.1, the table of uses, that spells out almost every use you can think of here in the city and what process must be abided by to build such a use. And I'm talking about anything from gas stations, department stores, office buildings, hospitals, schools, fire stations, shoe stores, etc. It's pretty much spelled out. And depending on the zone, the district here in the city, there's a different process that's required. If you want to build something in a residential zone, you look into the table of use and you see whether a special permit's required. You see whether it's allowed at all, and you look and see whether perhaps it's allowed by right. So again, for those who are interested in such minutia, if you did want to check out the table of uses, you'd see that in most zones for most uses, there's an opportunity to build something by right. And then in some instances, a special permit might be required. For city municipal uses, we require a special permit in all districts for everything we want to do except for schools, solar panels, and utilities. The idea is the suggestion that was made at the building committee was, is there a way to revisit that zoning code and perhaps treat municipal uses more similarly to other uses here in the city? And if we were to do that, and if we were to say, for example, you can build a fire station in a business highway district by right, but you need a special permit if you want to build it in a residential one zone, that would take action from the city council based on input from the planning board. So what we did was we desired to begin that conversation and put forth a municipal use exemption proposed ordinance change to the city council. First step of that process is they send it to the planning board, who has eyes on and say in all things zoning here in the city. And so that was step one. We went to the planning board, talked with them about this idea, made sure they understood the scope of what we were trying to do, what we're not trying to do, had a robust and healthy debate with them about possible ways to deal with this municipal use exemption. And at the end of the process with the planning board, they voted 7-0 in favor of changing the zoning code to allow municipal uses by right in all zones. I will say that at the beginning of the process, when we submitted the generic municipal use exemption, we had every reason to believe that by the time it made its way through the process at the planning board and the city council and public hearings and all sorts of input being applied to this idea, that it might come out a little different on the other end. There might be tweaks. There might be places where it's allowed by right, but other places where it's allowed by special permit. There might be places where it's not allowed at all. Again, looking at the table of uses, you can see the varying ways that these uses are governed. So anyway, we come out of the planning board with a 7-0 favorable opinion that we should change the zoning code. We then go on to the city council, where the city council generally sends these type of ordinance changes to their ordinance committee. We are in their ordinance committee tonight for a meeting. We had at the public hearing the other night, I would say the beginnings of the discussion on what this final piece of legislation might look like when it comes out the other end. It might well be that the city council doesn't want to change it at all, and it wants to ensure that municipal uses require a special permit in every zone in the city, thus treating our own projects differently than most private projects in the city that aren't held to that same standard. But that's up to the council. And I've said to them, this was put forward solely in the interest of expediting the process, ensuring that the project stayed on time, on budget, and that our fire station that we all want, Station 4 first and then Station 5, gets built as soon as possible. If at the end of all this, the city council does not want to change the zoning code, they do not agree with the planning board, and they don't think it's something they want to tweak at all, that's fine. There's no issue there. There's no problem. We will continue through the special permit process, and we'll do our very best to build these two fire stations on time and on budget.
Thank you. I think that's helpful for people to understand, sort of where it came from and what it sits in context of across the city. One of the things that lots of people have talked about is the special permit is a special way that city council has some level of authority and oversight over projects, but it's certainly not the only way that city council is involved in city projects or any projects across the city. I thought it might be helpful for you to talk a little bit about some of the other ways. I know we've already talked about sort of budget allocation, right? The city council has to approve money before we can even begin a design process.
Yeah, and just to start off, this is in no way an attempt to try to diminish the power of the city council. I sat there for 10 years. I was the president for 2 years. Ultimate respect for the authority of the city council. Consider them partners, not adversaries. Want to work closely with them. I understand and respect the charter, the ordinances that spells out the different levels of authority here in city government. Not at all is this a desire to diminish their power or increase the power of the mayor's office. But to your point, as I said, right now, if you look through the table of uses, you'll see that in most instances, anybody else in Woburn can find a way to build their project in varying zones, either by right or by special permit. The city is really one of the only entities, aside from carnivals, that require a special permit in every zone in the city if you want to do something. So we thought this was at least worth the discussion. And in terms of the city council's authority, they have complete control of the review of the zoning code, the table of uses, and they frequently amend it based on the needs of the community and changing times. The zoning code has been, since 1985, when it was first produced, it's been amended almost every year since, or every few years, based on the needs. So the idea that touching the zoning code is forbidden or is something unusual or is a dramatic or drastic change that everyone should be afraid of and concerned about is just not realistic, and it's not accurate. City council has the authority to change the zoning code as they see fit, whenever they see fit. And that was a point I tried to make the other night on the council floor, talking with some of the councilors. If they wanted to change the code to effectuate what we're trying to do here with fire stations, for example, and they felt at all uncomfortable that they had gone too far, they could immediately change it at the next series of meetings. They have complete control over that, and I respect that control. But if we were to pursue a city project by right, if they were to change the code and allow that, there's still other opportunities for other city officials besides the mayor's office to have oversight and input into that process. And there's opportunities for residents as well to weigh in and have input into those processes. As you said at the beginning, I don't spend a penny that the council doesn't authorize. So I can't go out there and build fire stations or schools or police stations or water treatment plants without the authorization of the city council. And that's what we did here with the fire stations. We presented to the city council what we wanted to build and how much it would cost to build it. And we had a series of meetings. They had tremendous input into that. And I'm grateful that at the end of the day, they approved that request. They approved the buildings we want to build, and they approved the amount of money we want to spend. So I wouldn't want to diminish the significance of that initial input. We're building fire stations because the council wants us to. We want to, the residents want us to, but the council wants us to, and I appreciate them seeing the need. But beyond that, any significant building project that I'm aware of in the last dozens of years, there's been ample input for the city council and residents and others to attend public building committee meetings and offer their suggestions and their input. And I'd be willing to say that over the past several years and many years, a lot of that input has been incorporated into projects. I think it's inaccurate to make it sound like a public hearing at a special permit process guarantees that the point raised by the resident becomes a special permit condition, part of the project. That's simply not true. It's not accurate. Public has a right to be heard, but the city council and the building committee in this case would have the ultimate authority to decide what actually goes into the project. So it is important to note that the right to be heard is not necessarily the right to have your idea incorporated. Probably common sense. Most people probably realize that, but it's important to know. So as we embark on a building committee for a fire station, we've done it in the past with schools. We create a committee that's a cross-section of all the department heads involved. There's union members involved. There's As I said, opportunities for the public to attend. We've already had, I think, 4 or 5 fire station building committees, and we've had a resident attend at least 3 of them and offer input. And I look forward to that, and I appreciate that. We have city councilors, members of the fire station building committee, and all are welcome to attend and offer input if they're available. So these are public meetings, public process with city council and resident input. So I don't think it's accurate to say if the city council were to authorize any change to the municipal use exemption table of uses chart, that it would somehow silence the voices of the councilors or the residents or take anyone's rights away. I think that's an exaggeration. And I'm trying to be accurate in how we're doing this, what prompted it, and what process we're following. I think it's important that we're all accurate in describing the implications of this.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking time to do that. I know there are other meetings. I know sometimes people don't see those, so I think it's helpful for people to hear it here as well. In addition, and again, I know you and I and others applaud all the people who are participating in this process. That's what we want. This process is designed to get input from residents and for City Council to hear the input of the folks that they're working with, and make and weigh the balance and decision about what they decide on this ultimately.
Yeah, and we've tried. It's been a year now, and we've tried to be as transparent as we can with any of the operations within the city. I wouldn't want anyone to think that this is some sort of attempt to do something behind closed doors. I mean, my whole administration is based on the notion of transparency. So I'd like to think that people have seen that over the past year and would view this issue through that lens. And again, it's certainly not any attempt to diminish the authority of my friends on the council. I respect that authority and appreciate the relationship between the mayor's office and the city council.
Excellent. Thank you. City Council didn't just talk about this, although it certainly was a significant portion of the meeting because we had lots of people who shared their thoughts and ideas. But we also, we hope, filled a very important position. Our city engineer, Jay Corey, has retired. He's been a trooper and stayed on board for a long time and until a suitable replacement could be found. And we got a chance for council to vote on bringing Alex on board.
Yeah, they voted the other night to extend an offer to Alex, and as I understand it, the offer was accepted. We expect Alex to be on board probably the 3rd week of February, perhaps. And to your point about Jay Corey, he's a tremendous asset. He's been a dedicated public servant to the city of Woburn. It's amazing how much input he has had into so many significant projects, including the fire station projects. He has a wealth of knowledge. It's amazing how much knowledge and experience he has amassed over the years. And what we've been trying to do since he tried to retire last summer was try to suck that knowledge and experience out. And now, as we appoint, the council has appointed a successor city engineer. The hope is that Jay and Alex can have a mind meld of sorts over the next few months, and Jay can impart as much of that as possible onto Alex, so Alex hits the ground running. We also have Greg Room, who's the assistant city engineer, who has advised us that he is looking to retire as well. Fortunately, he has also agreed to stay on a little bit to help with the transition, which we appreciate very much. Jay and Greg go way back, and they're a fabulous team. We're going to miss both of them and the positive impact they've had in the city. But we are pleased to have a solid replacement in Alex, and we're pleased that there'll be a transition period so we don't just, no one's left high and dry.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, Jay speaks really highly of Alex. Alex has worked in a neighboring community and they've interacted over the years together. And I know I'm really excited to have him be able to get up to speed and have such wonderful people to help him make a nice, smooth transition.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a lot of things that Jay just did over the years. As we were a growing community, we didn't have the staff, the resources, the vision into so many of these issues, and a lot of it fell to Jay, and he just handled it like the pro that he is. So as we move forward, we're fortunate now we have a grant writer and a grant administrator who is working with Jay now to take some of that off of his plate and the engineering office plate, or at least to strengthen the relationship and kind of ease the burden as Alex comes on board. And that's true in a couple of other departments as well. So, I think we'll be well positioned with Alex on board and our team around him to succeed.
Excellent. I'm really looking forward to it. And I know that Jay and Greg will look forward to lots of enjoyable retirement days. They've certainly earned that.
Yes, they
Uh,
have.
so, the weather is cold, and we've had a cold snap. So, parts of Horn Pound are frozen over, and we've seen some folks, walking on it. And maybe, I don't know that I've seen any skaters, but I've definitely saw some people ice fishing. And that's a amazing way to enjoy the winter. We do have to be careful. There is moving water underneath, and we haven't had persistent cold for too long. I thought this might be a good chance to just make sure we don't have any accidents and people are being really careful as they're enjoying that winter wonderland.
Yeah, the pond is the crown jewel of the city of Woburn. Everyone loves to walk around it, and there's events always around the pond, and it's really the center of so much of what we do here in Woburn. And historically, there's been an opportunity to skate on the pond in the winter. I'm leery. I cautioned my kids through the years. We spent most of their lives in hockey rinks, and I implored them to skate there versus the pond. But I do know that there are folks who would like to get out on the pond and enjoy that. I would just caution them to take the advice of the professionals, the fire department and officials across the state are always issuing
Mhm.
advisories and warnings. Just because it's cold for a couple of days doesn't necessarily mean the ice is thick enough. You really need inches and inches,
Mhm.
of ice before you venture out on it. It doesn't take much for a tragedy to happen. So I would just ask people to be really, really careful about that. Check it carefully before you venture out. Take the guidance of the fire department, the police department, and professionals across the state who monitor such things. I was talking with the fire chief this morning about the ice up at Lake Winnipesaukee. They're talking about at least 12 to 16 inches of frozen ice before they even venture out, before all the activity that people enjoy so much up there can take place. So I would look to the professionals and listen to them and just ask people to be really careful.
Yeah, excellent. And there's a lot to enjoy on the lake and around the lake, as you mentioned. Our rec department, for example, has a great snowshoe takeaway program, so it's free to use them. Take them on a beautiful day. We now get enough snow that's sort of persistently on the ground, and we don't know how much longer it will last, but it's a great chance to do it while you can. So lots of ways to enjoy the winter. Just we want everybody to remain safe as they're doing it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you for joining as always.
Thank you, Samantha.
Appreciate it. Next up, Mackenzie Dezieck is with us. Welcome, Mackenzie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great. And I know you've been back from maternity leave for a little bit, but I think this is the first time since your return that you've been on today in Woburn. So excited to have you here. And you've been really busy building a whole bunch of excellent programs. I'm looking forward to sharing with our audience.
Yes, me too. I'm very excited.
That's excellent. So first up, let's talk about the overdose prevention and Narcan training that's coming up on February 6th, if I've got the date right.
Absolutely. Yes. February 6th is correct. That's a Thursday. It is from 5:30 to 6:30 at the program room in the Woburn Public Library. So this training is free for everybody within Woburn and around and surrounding communities. Everyone who comes will walk away with some Narcan, some resources, and also just some other goodies kind of related to safety around overdose prevention. There is no age restriction for this, but I would just use caution if you are planning to come. There is some sensitive information around, overdosing, what causes overdosing, and what to expect if you do witness an overdose. So this will be the first of many trainings. So if you can't make it to this one, I'm sure we'll have another one down the line.
Yeah, excellent. And on the screen, our producer will share sort of where people can register for that. And we really looking forward to it. Thank you for doing that. We also are scheduling a mental health first aid class for youth mental health, which is another incredible opportunity for us to share knowledge and help, really educate the community on ways to help each other out. Tell us a little bit about that class and what that is incorporated.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was lucky enough to become a trainer for both adult and youth mental health first aid training. So youth mental health first aid is training adults to be a mental health first aider for youth. So just to put some clarification around that, it's not teaching the youth, it's teaching how to support our youth in our community. And just like when you think of first aid, like you might put a band-aid and you do that first line of treatment for a physical wound, this is kind of like a first aid training for mental health. So it's a training for anybody in our community. You don't need to have any background related to mental health or substance use or any sort of social work background. And it's really just a one-day training to, learn how to best support our peers in our community. And it's a really wonderful training. I took it myself, so I'm excited to bring that here to Woburn. And like I said about the Narcan training, and this will be first of many too. So we'll be doing a youth training now, and hopefully we'll be able to launch an adult mental health first aid training down the line. So this training is March 13th. It is from 9 to 5. So like I said, it's a full day training, but it is very fascinating information and very interesting. So I look forward to having that training in March.
Excellent. And I can say I took the adult version of this class, and I can say firsthand, it was a really exceptional experience. It was a great opportunity to talk about things that are important and things that some of us don't think about every day, but we have come across our lives, and it's a good opportunity to feel prepared, just like we sort of, learn how to give a Heimlich maneuver or how to, do other things for physical abilities, as you were saying. This is a chance for us to take care of people in a different way and identify it and know who to call and know what to do. And so I thought it was great. And at first, I'm not going to lie, I saw an all day thing and I'm like, I haven't sat through all day school in a lot of years. And, how am I going to make it? But it was a really fast day, actually, because it's, a really interactive class. There's lots of opportunities to learn new things, reinforce things that maybe you already knew, and it actually flew by. So I'm excited for people to be able to take this class as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And finally, not to pile on, but there's so much going on. I'm really excited, feels like the wrong word to describe this, but I'm really happy that we are going to be offering some grief support for folks and talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing there, because that's another way that we can help lift each other up.
Yeah. So, part of my role as the mental health and substance use counselor is really listening, or coordinator is listening to our community and hearing their needs. So figuring out where there might be gaps of services and where I can kind of put something in place to support our community better. And one of those needs was support for grief. So I'm very excited to announce that we are partnering with Tufts Medicine, and they are sending over a very experienced grief counselor who's going to come and help run some free grief groups. It'll be once a week on Wednesday. These are going to be starting on March 5th and going until April 23rd. So it's once a week, Wednesday evenings, 4:30 to 6 o'clock. And, they're completely confidential. No registration is required. You can come to one, you can come to all, you can speak at one, you can speak at none. So I'm just really hoping to make this a really welcoming environment and offer that level of support that, I think could be really beneficial to our community.
Yeah, thank you. And this is one of the things that we're doing at the new Community Resource Center. And for those folks, we know you haven't been there yet, but there's a really private room that the door closes, and it's a good opportunity for you to have these kinds of sometimes difficult conversations in a supportive environment and feel safe and secure doing that. So we're pleased to be able to bring that. Thank you, Mackenzie, for bringing us all of those ways that we can learn and grow and help each other even more.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Next up, Amanda, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, and I'm really excited because upcoming Telethon Day, this is always a really important day for the Council of Social Concern. That's coming up this weekend, right?
It is, yeah, Sunday, February 2nd from 12 to 3 right here on WPMC. It's our 16th annual telethon, actually.
Oh, in my house we'd consider 16 a happy number, so we like that. Well, when
Yeah.
my when one of my kiddos was little, they would like anything like the volume of the television or anything had to be like on what they deemed a happy numbers. So I still look for those even all these years later.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully that's good luck.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is good luck. So, this is a really important fundraiser. The money goes towards incredible things. Tell us a little bit about the financial goal this year and how that money will be put to great use.
Yes. So this year, our goal is to raise $22,000 for Council of Social Concern and our programs. And all this money will go towards the programs that we and the services we provide for the community. So our food pantry program, our subsidized affordable child care through the Children's Center and family child care, our parenting education programs, and then, information and referral. If anyone has any questions about where services are, they can give us a call, and we're happy to direct them if we don't offer that service. So
Well, I have to tell you, I often call on the council to help folks, and you guys do incredibly important work and are always responsive and bend over backwards to do everything we can. So thank you for that. Telethon Day is kind of fun because it's a day that we're always looking for donations and financial support that help keeps it going. But this is a day that's kind of a concentrated effort. Tell us a little bit about what will be entertaining on Telethon Day this weekend.
yeah, so we have over 25 guests that will come on the show and do brief interviews. We have local and state officials. We have supporters of the council, and people from like local community groups like Kiwanis and the Rotary Club, who just come on and talk about their work, but also the work that we do. We will have, for the first time ever, we're going to have some prizes and Council of Social Concern trivia. So if you tune in to either the telecast or the YouTube Live, and listen for these key questions, be the first caller and you'll get a $50 Visa gift card.
That's so super fun.
I know, yeah, that'll be fun, and it's a good way to educate people on some of our programs. We'll have cooking from Vinnie Ferlisi. We'll have some tape performances, and it should just be a really good time.
I remember being in studio for a past telethon, and it was near the cooking segment, and boy, did it smell good in there. So
Oh, it
I know
smells
it's
so
always
good.
great. It's always great recipes that he's sharing.
Yes, I know he makes that studio smell really good. Um,
It's fantastic. So remind folks how they can donate on Telethon Day.
Yes, you can call in. The phone number will be on, if you tune into the telecast, it'll be there. And I think they'll put it down here right now, but it's 781-995-4178. You can also give at socialconcern.org. You can give via Venmo. You can text me and say, I'm pledging this amount, basically any way that you want to.
I love it. We'll take all the money.
Exactly.
Well, thank you again for joining me, Amanda. This is such an important resource in our community, and I know many, many families use it, and many people volunteer and help support the work they're doing here. So hopefully this will be a fun day and a fundraising day as well.
Yes, we're looking forward to it. And WPMC is always such a huge partner and supporter, so we're excited.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining as always. There's a lot going around across the city. We do our best here to share that. Woburn, please continue to take good care of each other.